Shri Sairam, welcome everyone to our Satcharita Reading. We'll begin with our opening prayers. Mm. Mm. भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Shri Sai, Auntie Jyoti, you may please start from chapter 46.
Okay. Om Shri Sai Ram. Baba's Gaya trip. Story of goats. This chapter describes Shama's trip to Kashi, Prayag, and Gaya, and how Baba, in the form of his portrait, was there ahead of him. It also describes Baba's reminiscences of the past birth of two goats. Blessed, O Sai, are your feet, blessed is your remembrance, and blessed is your darshana, which frees us from the bond of karma. Though your form is invisible to us now, still, if the devotees believe in you, they get living experiences from you. By an invisible and subtle thread, you draw your devotees from far and near to your feet and embrace them like a kind and loving mother. The devotees do not know where you are, but you skillfully pull the wires that they ultimately realize that you are at their back to help and support them. The intelligent, wise, and learned folk fall into the pit of the samsara on account of their egoism, but you save, by your power, the poor, simple, and devout persons. Inwardly and invisibly, you play all the game, but show that you are not concerned with it. You do things and pose yourself as a non doer. Nobody ever knows your life. The best course, therefore, for us is to surrender our body, speech, and mind to your feet and always chant your name for destroying our sins. You fulfill the wishes of the devotees, and to those who are without any desire, you give bliss supreme. Chanting your sweet name is the easiest sadhana for devotees. By this sadhana, our sins, rajas, and tamas qualities will vanish, the sattva qualities and righteousness will gain predominance, and along with this, discrimination, dispassion, and knowledge will follow. Then we shall abide in ourself and our Guru, who are one and the same. This is what is called complete surrender to the Guru. The only sure sign of this is that our mind gets calm and peaceful. The greatness of this surrender, devotion, and knowledge is unique. For peace, non attachment, fame, and salvation, etc., come in its train. If Baba accepts a devotee, he follows him and stands by him day and night at his home or abroad. Let the devotee go anywhere he likes. Baba is there ahead of him in some form in an inconceivable manner. The following story illustrates this. Gaya trip. Sometime after Kaka Sahib Dikshit was introduced to Sai Baba, he decided to perform the thread Upanayan ceremony for his eldest son Babu at Nagpur. At about the same time, Nana Sahib Chandorkar decided to perform the marriage ceremony of his eldest son at Gwalior. Both Dikshit and Chandorkar came to Shirdi and lovingly invited Baba for these functions. Baba asked them to take Shama as his representative. When he was pressed to come in person, Baba told them to take Shama with them and then that after doing Banaras and Prayag, he would be ahead of Shama. Now mark these words, for they show Baba's all pervasiveness. Taking the permission of Baba, Shama decided to go to Nagpur and Gwalior for these functions and ceremonies, and thence to Kashi, Prayag, and Gaya. Appa Kote made up his mind to accompany him. They both went first to Nagpur for the thread ceremony. Kaka Sahib Dikshit gave Shama rupees 200 for his expenses. Then they went to Gwalior for the marriage ceremony. There Nana Sahib Chandorkar gave Shama 100 rupees and his Vyahi relation Mr. Jathar gave him also rupees 100. Then Shama went to Kashi and then to Ayodhya where he was well received in Jatar's beautiful temple of Lakshmi Narayan at Kashi, and in the Rama Mandir at Ayodhya by Jatar's manager. They, Shama and Kote, stayed for 21 days in Ayodhya and 2 months in Kashi. Then they left for Gaya. In the train, they felt a little uneasy on hearing that plague was prevailing in Gaya. At night, they alighted at Gaya station and stayed in the Dharmashala. In the morning, the Gaya Wala, the priest who arranges and provides for the lodging and boarding of the pilgrims, came there and aid pilgrims have already started. You better make haste. Shama casually asked him whether there was plague in Gaya. Kot said, the Gayawala, come without any fear or anxiety and see yourself. Then they went with him and stayed in his house, which was a big and commodious vara. Shama was pleased with the accommodation provided for him, but what pleased him most was the beautiful big portrait of Baba fixed in the central and front portion of the building. Seeing this portrait, Shama was overwhelmed with emotion. He remembered Baba's words, which is, after doing Kashi and Prayag, he would be ahead of Shama, and burst into tears. His hair stood on end, his throat was choked, and he began to sob. The Gayawala thought that he was afraid of plague prevailing there and therefore was crying. But Shama inquired of him whence he got Baba's portrait there. He replied that he had 200 or 300 agents working at Manmad and Punatambe for looking to the convenience of the pilgrims to Gaya, and from them he heard about Baba's fame. Then, about 12 years ago, he went to Shirdi and took Baba's darshan. There he wanted Baba's portrait hung in Shama's house, and with Baba's permission, Shama gave it to him. This was the same portrait. Shama then remembered this former incident. The Gayawala's joy knew no bounds when he learned that the same Shama who obliged him before was his guest then. Then they both exchanged love and service and were most delighted and happy. The Gayawala gave him a right royal welcome. He was a very rich man. He sat in a palanquin and made Shama ride an elephant and attended to all his comforts and conveniences. The moral of this story is that Baba's words came out true to the letter, and unbounded was his love towards the devotees. But leave this aside, he also loved all creatures equally, for he felt that he was one with them. The following story will illustrate this. Two goats. Baba was once returning from Lendi when he saw a flock of goats. Two of them attracted his attention. He went to them, caressed and fondled them, and bought them for 32 rupees. The devotees were surprised at this conduct of Baba. They thought that Baba was duped in this bargain, as the goats would fetch rupees 2 each at the most, rupees 3 or 4 each, that is 8 for both. They began to take Baba to task for this, but Baba kept calm and cool. Shama and Tatya Kote asked Baba for an explanation. He said he should not store money as he had no home and any family to look after. He asked them to purchase at his cost 4 seers of dal and feed the goats. After this was done, Baba returned the goats to the owner of the flock and gave out of the following reminiscences and story of the goats. Shama and Tatya, you think that I have been deceived in this bargain. No, listen to their story. In their former birth, they were human beings and had the good fortune to be my companions and sit by my side. They were uterine brothers, loving each other at first, but later on they became enemies. The elder brother was an idle fellow, while the younger one was an active chap and earned a lot of money. The former became greedy and jealous and wanted to kill his brother and take away his money. They forgot their fraternal relations and began to quarrel with each other. The elder brother resorted to many devices to kill his younger brother, but all of his attempts failed. Thus they became deadly enemies, and finally, on one occasion, the elder gave a deadly blow with a big stick on the latter's head, while the latter struck the former with an axe, with the result that both fell dead on the spot. As the result of their actions, they were both born as goats. As they passed by me, I at once recognized them. I remembered their past history. Taking pity on them, I wanted to feed them and give them rest and comfort, and for this reason I spent all the money for which you reprove me. As you did not like my bargain, I sent them back to their shepherd. Such was Sai's love for the goats. Story of Veerbhadrappa and Chenbasappa, Snake and the Frog. The last chapter described Baba's reminiscences about two goats. This describes more such reminiscences and relates the story of Veerbhadrappa and Chenbasappa. Blessed is the face of Sai. If we cast a glance at him for a moment, he destroys the sorrows of many past births and confers great bliss on us. And if he looks at us with grace, our bondage of karma is immediately snapped away and we are led to happiness. The river Ganges washes away the dirt and sins of all people who go to her for a bath, but she intently longs for the saints to come to her and bless her with their feet and remove all the dirt accumulated in her. She knows for certain that this accumulation can only be removed by the holy feet of the saints. Sai is the crest jewel of the saints, and now hear from him the following purifying story: The Snake and the Frog. Sai Baba said, Morning after taking my breakfast, I strolled along till I came to a small river bank. As I was tired, I rested there, washed my hands and feet, and had a bath and felt refreshed. There was a footpath and a cart track sheltered by shady trees. The breeze was also blowing gently. As I was preparing to smoke chillum, I heard the croaking of a frog. I was striking the flint and lighting the fire when a traveler turned up, sat by my side, bowed to me, and politely invited me to his house for meals and rest. He lit up the pipe and handed it over to me. The croaking was heard again, and he wanted to know what it was. I told him that a frog was in trouble and was tasting the bitter fruit of its own karma. We have to reap now the fruit of what we sow in our past life, and there is no use in crying about it. Then he smoked and handed over the pipe to me and said that he would go there in person and see for himself. I told him that a frog was caught by a big snake and was crying. Both were very wicked in their past life and were now reaping the fruit of their actions in these bodies. He went out and found that a huge black serpent was holding the big frog in its mouth. He turned to me and said that in about 10 or 12 minutes the frog would be eaten up by the snake. I said, This can't be. I am its father, protector, and I am here now. How shall I allow the snake to eat it up? Uh, am I here for nothing? Just see how I release it. After smoking again, we walked on to the place. He was afraid and asked me not to proceed further as the snake might attack us. Not minding him, I went ahead and addressed the creatures thus: Veerbhadrappa, has not your enemy Basappa yet ripened, though he has been born as a frog? And you too, though born as a serpent, still maintain bitter enmity against him. Fie upon you! Be ashamed. Give up your hatred now and rest in peace. Hearing these words, the snake left the frog quickly and dived into the river and disappeared. The frog also jumped away and hid itself in the bushes. The traveler was much surprised. He said that he could not understand how the snake dropped the frog and disappeared at the words uttered, who was Veerbhadrappa and who was Basappa, and what was the cause of their enmity. I returned with him to the foot of the tree, and after sharing a few puffs of smoke with him, I explained the whole mystery to him as follows. There was ancient holy place sanctified by a temple of Mahadev about 4 or 5 miles from my place. The temple was old and dilapidated. The residents of the place collected funds for its repairs. After a large amount was collected, arrangement for worship was made and plans with estimates for repairs were prepared. A rich local man was appointed the treasurer and the whole work was entrusted to him. He was to keep regular accounts and be honest in all his dealings. He was a first class miser and spent very little for the repairs, which consequently made very little progress. He spent all the funds, swallowed some amount himself, and spent nothing from his pocket. He had a sweet tongue and was very clever in offering plausible explanations regarding the poor and tardy progress of the work. The people again went to him and said that unless he lent his helping hand and tried his best, the work would not be complete. They requested him to work out the scheme and again collected subscriptions and sent the amount to him. He received it but sat as quiet as before without making any progress. After some days, God, Mahadev, appeared in his wife's dream and said to her, "Get up, build the dome of the temple. I will give you 100-fold of what you spend." She told this vision to her husband. He was afraid that it would involve him in some expenses and therefore laughed it out, saying that it was a mere dream, a thing not to be relied and acted upon. Or else, why did not God appear to him and tell him? Was he far off from her? This looks like a bad dream, having for us its object the creation of ill feeling between husband and wife. She had to remain quiet. God does not like big subscriptions and donations collected against the wishes of the donors, but He likes ever trifling amounts given with love, devotion, and appreciation. Some days after, God again appeared in her dream and said, "Not bother yourself about your husband and the collections with him. Don't press him to spend any amount for the temple. What I want is feeling and devotion. So give, if you like, anything of your own." She consulted her husband about this vision and decided to give God her ornaments given by her father. The miser felt disconcerted and decided to cheat even God in this item. He undervalued the ornaments as 1,000 rupees and bought them himself, and in lieu of the amount, gave a field to God as endowment or security. The wife agreed to this. The field or land was not his own, it belonged to one poor woman named Dubaki, who mortgaged it to him for 200 rupees. She was not able to redeem it for long. So the cunning miser cheated all, his wife Dubaki, and even God. The land was sterile, uncultivated, and worth nothing and yielded nothing, even in best seasons. Thus ended this transaction, and the land was given in the possession of the poor priest who was pleased with the endowment. Some time later on, strange things happened. There was a terrific storm and heavy downpour of rain. Lightning struck and house of the miser when he and his wife both died. Dubaki also breathed her last. In the next life, the rich miser was born at Mathura in a Brahmin family and was named Veerbhadrappa. His devout wife was born as the daughter of the priest of the temple and was named Gauri. The woman Dubaki, the mortgager, was born as a male in the family of the Gaurav, attendant of the temple, and was named Chenbasappa. Chenbasappa. The priest was a friend of mine. He often came to me, chatted, and smoked with me. His daughter Gauri was also devoted to me. She was growing fast, and her father was seeking a good husband for her. I told him not to worry about this, as the bridegroom himself would come seeking her. Then there came a poor boy named Veerbhadrappa of their caste, wandering and begging his bread to the priest's house. With my consent, Gauri was given in marriage to him. He was also first devoted to me, as I recommended his marriage with Gauri. Even in this new life, he was hankering after money and asked me to help him to get it, as he was leading a married man's life. Strange things happened. There was a sudden rise in prices. By Gauri's good luck, there was a great demand for land, and the endowment land was sold for 1 lakh rupees. Half the amount was paid in cash, and the remaining was to be paid in 25 installments of 2,000 rupees each. All agreed to this transaction but began to quarrel over the money. They came to me for consultation. I told them that the property belonged to God and was vested in the priest, and Gauri was his sole heiress and uh, proprietress, and no amount should be spent without her consent, and that her husband had no right whatsoever to the amount. Hearing my opinion, Veerbhadrappa was wroth with me and said that I wanted to establish Gauri's claim and embezzle her property. Hearing his words, I remembered God and kept quiet. Veerbhadrappa scolded his wife Gauri, and she came to me at noon and requested me not to mind the words of others and not to discard her as she was my daughter. As she thus sought my protection, I gave her a pledge that I would cross seven seas to help her. Then that night, Gauri had a vision. Mahadev appeared in her dream and said, "Whole money is yours. Do not give anything to anybody. Spend some amount for temple purposes in consultation with Chenbasappa, and if you want to use it for some other purpose, consult Baba in the masjid." Gauri told me the vision and I gave her the proper advice in the matter. I told her to take the principal or capital amount to herself, give half the amount of interest to Chenbasappa, and that Veerbhadrappa had nothing to do in this matter. While I was thus talking, both Veerbhadrappa and Chenbasappa came there quarreling. I tried my best to appease them and told them God's vision to Gauri. Veerbhadrappa got wild and angry and threatened to kill Chenbasappa, cutting him to pieces. The latter was timid. He caught my feet and sought my refuge. I pledged myself to save him from the wrath of his foe. Then, after some time, Veerpatrappa died and was born as a snake, and Chenbasappa died and was born as a frog. On hearing the croaking of Chenbasappa and remembering my pledge, I came here, saved him, and kept my word. God runs to his devotees for help in times of danger. He saved Chenbasappa the frog by sending me here. All this is God's Leela or a sport. The moral of the story is that one has to reap what one sows, and there is no escape unless one suffers and squares up one's old debts and dealings with others, and that greed for money drags the greedy man to the lowest level and ultimately brings destruction on him and others. Wording of devotees' calamities. At the commencement of this chapter, someone asked Himat Pant whether Sai Baba was a guru or Sadguru. In order to answer the question, Himat Pant describes the signs or marks of a Sadguru as follows. Signs of Sadguru. He who teaches us Veda and Vedanta or the six Shastras, he who controls the breath or brands his body with mudras, or gives pleasing discourses regarding Brahma, he who gives mantras to the disciples and orders them to chant the same a certain number of times, but does not assure them any result in a definite time, he who by his spacious wordy knowledge explains beautifully the ultimate principle, but has himself got no experience or self realization, is not a Sadguru. But he who by his discourse creates in us a distaste for the enjoyments of this world and the next, and gives us a taste of self realization, who is well versed in both the theoretical and practical knowledge, deserves to be called a Sadguru. How can he, who is himself devoid of self realization, give it to the disciples? A Sadguru does not even in his dream expect any service or profit from his disciples. On the contrary, he wishes to serve them. He does not think that he is great and the disciple small. Not only he loves him as his son, but regards him as equal to himself or as Brahma. The main characteristic of a Sadguru is that he is the abode of peace. He is never restless or ruffled. He has no pride of his learning. The poor and the rich, the small and the great are the same to him. Hemat Pant thinks that on account of the store or accumulation of merits in his past births, he had the good fortune of meeting and being blessed by such a Sadguru as Sai Baba. Even in full youth, he hoarded nothing. He had no family, no friend, no home, nor any support. Since he was 18, his control of mind was perfect and extraordinary. He lived then fearless in a secluded place and always abided in his self. Seeing the pure attachment of his devotees, he always acted in their interest, and hence he was in a way dependent on them. What experiences he gave to his devotees while he was living in flesh are even today, after his Mahasamadhi, obtained now by those who attach themselves to him. What the devotees have to do is this: they have to trim their heart lamp of faith and devotion and burn in it wicks of love, and when this is done, the flame of knowledge, self realization, will be lit up and shine brighter. Mere knowledge without love is dry. Nobody wants such knowledge. Without love, there is no contentment. So we should have unbroken and unbounded love. How can we praise love? Everything is insignificant before it. Without love, our reading, hearing, and the study are of no avail. In the wake of love follow devotion, dispassion, peace, and liberation with all their treasures. We do not get love for anything unless we feel earnestly about it. So, where there is real yearning and feeling, God manifests Himself. It includes love and is the means of liberation. Now let us revert to the main story of this chapter. Let a man go to a true saint with a pure mind, otherwise, fraudulently, and hold his feet. Ultimately, he is sure to be saved. This is illustrated by the following stories. Mr. Shivade. Mr. Sapnekar of Akalkot, Sholapur district, was studying for law. A co student, Mr. Shivade, met him. Other fellow students also gathered together and compared notes of their study. It was found by the questions and answers amongst themselves that Mr. Shivade was the least prepared of all for the examination, and therefore all the students derided him. But he said that though he was not prepared, he was sure to pass the examination, as his Sai Baba was there to get him through it successfully. Mr. Sapatnikar was surprised at this remark. He took Mr. Shivari aside and asked him who this Sai Baba was, whom he extolled so high. He replied, lives in a masjid in Shirdi, a fakir. He is a great Satpurusha. There may be other saints, but this one is unique. Unless there is a great store of merits on one's account, one can't see him. I fully believe in him, and what he says will be never untrue. He has assured me that I will pass definitely next year, and I am confident that I will get through the final examination also with his grace. Mr. Sapatnekar laughed at his friend's confidence and jeered at him and Baba. Mr. Sapatnekar passed his examination, settled at Akkalkot, and practiced as a pleader there. 10 years after, that is, in 1913, he lost his only son on account of a throat disease. This broke his heart. He sought relief by making a pilgrimage to Pandharpur, Gangapur, and other holy places. He got no peace of mind. Then he read Vedanta, which also did not help him. In the meanwhile, he remembered Mr. Shivade's remarks and his faith in Baba, and he thought that he too should go to Shirdi and see Baba. He went to Shirdi with his younger brother, Pandit Rao, and was much pleased to see Baba from a distance. When he went near and prostrated himself and placed a coconut before Baba with pure feeling, the latter at once cried out away. Sapnekar hung down his head, moved back, and sat aside. He wanted to consult somebody who would advise him how to proceed. Somebody mentioned Bala Shimpi's name. Sapnekar saw him and sought his help. They bought Baba's photos and came with them to the masjid. Baba Shimpi uh, took a photo in his hand, gave it to Baba, and asked him whose photo was it. Baba said this photo was the Yara, the lover of him, pointing to Sapnekar. Saying this, Baba laughed and all others joined. Bala asked Baba the significance of the laugh and beckoned Sapnekar to come forward and take darshan. When Sapnekar began to prostrate himself, Baba again cried out. Sapnekar did not know what to do. Then they both joined hands and sat before Baba praying. Baba finally ordered Sapnekar to clear out immediately. Both were sad and dejected. As Baba's order had to be obeyed, Sapnekar left Shirdi with a heavy heart, praying that he should be allowed to take darshan next time. Mrs. Sapnekar. 1 year elapsed. Still his mind was not at peace. He went to Gangapur, where he felt more restless. Then he went to Madgaon for rest and finally decided to go to Kashi. 2 days before starting, his wife got a vision. In her dream, she was going with a pitcher to Lakadshah's well. There, a fakir with a piece of cloth round his head, who was sitting at the foot of the neem tree, came close to her and said, Dear Lassie, Why get exhausted for nothing? I get your picture filled with pure water. She was afraid of the fakir and hastened back with the empty pitcher. The fakir followed her. At this she was awakened and at this she was awakened and chapter this opened her eyes. She told this vision to her husband. They thought that this was an auspicious sign and they both left for Shirdi. When they reached the masjid, Baba was absent. He had gone to Lendi. They waited till his return. When he returned, she was surprised to see that the fakir she saw in her vision resembled exactly Baba. She reverentially prostrated herself before Baba and sat looking at him. Seeing her humility, Baba was much pleased and began to tell a story in his peculiar characteristic fashion to a third party. He said, arms, abdomen, and waist are paining for a long time. I took many medicines, the pains did not abate. I got sick of the medicines as they gave me no relief. But I am surprised to see now that all the pains have disappeared at once. Though no name was mentioned, it was the story of Mrs. Sapnekar herself. Her pains, as described by Baba, left her soon and she was happy. Then Mr. Sapnekar went ahead to take darshan. He was again welcomed with the former out. This time he was more penitent and persevering. He said that Baba's displeasure was due to his past deeds and resolved to make amends for the same. He determined to see Baba alone and ask his pardon for his past actions. This he did. He placed his head on Baba's feet and Baba placed his hand on it and Sapnekar sat stroking Baba's leg. Then a shepherdess came and sat massaging Baba's waist. Baba, in his characteristic way, began to tell the story of a bania. He related the various vicissitudes of all his life, including the death of his only son. Sapnekar was surprised to see that the story which Baba related was his own, and he wondered how Baba knew every detail of it. He came to know that he was omniscient and knew the hearts of all. When this thought crossed his mind, Baba, still addressing the shepherdess and pointing to Sapnekar, said, Fellow blames me and charges me with killing his son. Do I kill people's children? Why does this fellow come to the masjid and cry? Now I will do this. I will again bring that very child back in his wife's womb. With these words, he placed his blessing and on his head and comforted him, saying, Feet are old and holy. You are carefree now. Place entire faith in me, and you will soon get your object. Sapnekar was much moved with emotion. He bathed Baba's feet with his tears and then returned to his residence. Then he made preparations for worship and Naivedya and came with his wife to the masjid. He offered all this to Baba daily and accepted prasad from him. There was a crowd in the masjid, and Sapnegar went there and saluted Baba again and again. Seeing heads clashing against heads, Baba said to Sapnekar, Why do you prostrate yourself now and then? The one namaskar offered with love and humility is enough. Then Sapnekar witnessed that night the Chawadi procession described before. In that procession, Baba looked like a veritable Pandurang, Vitthal. At parting next day, Sapnekar thought that he should first pay 1 rupee as dakshina, and if Baba asked again, instead of saying no, he should pay one more, reserving with him sufficient amount as expenses for the journey. When he went to the masjid and offered 1 rupee, Baba asked for another as per his intention, and when it was paid, Baba blessed him, saying, The coconut, put it in your wife's oti, upper fold of her sari, and go away at ease without the least anxiety. He did so, and within a year a son was born to him, and with an infant of 8 months the pair came to Shirdi, placed it at Baba's feet, and prayed thus. Sainath, we do not know how to redeem your obligations, therefore we prostrate ourselves before you. Bless us poor helpless fellows. Henceforth, let your holy feet be our sole refuge. Many thoughts and ideas trouble us in waking and dream states. So turn away our minds from them to your bhajan and bless us. The son was named Murlidhar. Two others, Bhaskar and Dinkar, were born afterwards. The Sapnekar pair thus realized that Baba's words were never untrue and unfulfilled. but turned out literally true.
Thank you, Auntie Jyoti. And Brother Sundar will now continue with the next chapter.
Sairam. Stories of Hari Kanoba, Somadeva Swami, Nana Saheb Chandorkar. The Vedas and Puranas cannot sufficiently praise or describe Brahma or the Sadguru. Then how can we, who are ignorant, describe our Sadguru, Sri Sai Baba? We think that it is better for us to keep quiet on this matter. In reality, the observance of the vow of silence is the best way of praising the Sadguru. But the good qualities of Sai Baba make us forget our vow of silence and inspire us to open our mouth. Good dishes taste flat if there is no company of friends and relation to partake of the dishes with us. But when they join us, the dishes acquire additional flavor. The same is the case of Sai Leelamrit, the nectar in the form of Sai's Leelas. The nectar we cannot partake alone. Friends and brothers have to join us. The more, the better. It is Sai Baba himself that inspires these stories, and gets them written as he desires. Our duty is to surrender completely to him and meditate upon him. Practicing penance is better than pilgrimage, vow, sacrifice, and charity. Worshipping Hari, the Lord, is better than penance, and the meditation on Sadguru is the best of all. We have therefore to chant Sai's name by mouth, think over his saying in our mind, meditate on his form, feel real love for him in our heart, and do all our actions for his sake. There is no better means than this for snapping the bondage of samsara. If we can do our duty on our part, as stated above, Sai is bound to help and liberate us. Now we can revert to the stories of this chapter. Sorry, give me 1 second. Hari Kanoba. The gentleman of Bombay, named Hari Kanoba, heard from his friends and relations many leelas of Baba. He did not believe in them, as he was doubting Thomas. He wanted to test Baba himself. So he came to Shirdi with some Bombay friends. He wore a lace bordered turban on his head and a new pair of sandals on his feet. Seeing Baba from a distance, he thought of going to him and prostrating himself before him. He did not know what to do with his new sandals. Still going to some corner outside in the open courtyard, he placed them there and went in the masjid and took Baba's darshan. He made a reverential bow to Baba, took Udi and prasad from Baba, and returned. When he reached the corner, he found that his sandals had disappeared. He searched for them in vain and returned to his lodging very dejected. He bathed, offered worship and Naivedya, and sat for meals. But all the while, he was thinking about nothing but his sandals. After finishing his meals, he came out to wash his hands when he saw a Maratha boy coming towards him. He had in his hand a stick on the top of which was suspended a pair of new sandals. He said to the men who had come to wash their hands that Baba sent him the stick, the stick in hand, and asked him to go to the streets crying, Ka beta, Jari ka peta, Jari ka peta, and told him that everybody claims these sandals. First, assure yourself that his name is Hari and that he is the son of Ka, and that is Kanoba, and that he wears a lace bordered turban, and give them to him. Hearing this, Hari Kanoba was pleasantly surprised. He went to the boy and claimed that the sandals were his own. He said to the boy that his name was Hari and that he was the son of Ka or Kanoba, and showed him his lace bordered turban. The boy was satisfied and returned the sandals to him. Hari Kanoba wondered in his mind, saying that His lace-bordered turban was visible to all, and Baba might have seen it. But how could he know that his name was Hari and that he was born of Kanoba? As this was his first trip to Shirdi, he came there with the sole object of testing Baba and with no other motive. He came to know by this incident that Baba was a great Satpurush. He got what he wanted and returned home well pleased. Somadeva Swami. Now we hear the story of another man who had come to try Baba. Bhaiji, brother of Kaka Sahib Dikshit, was staying in Nagpur. When he had gone to the Himalayas in 1906 AD, he made an acquaintance with one Somadeva Swami of Haridwar at Uttarkashi, down the Gangotri valley. Both took down each other's names in their diaries. 5 years afterwards, Somadeva Swami came to Nagpur and was Baiji's guest. There he was pleased to hear the Leelas of Baba, and a strong desire arose in his mind to go to Shirdi and to see him. He got a letter of introduction from Bhaiji and left for Shirdi. After passing Manmad and Kopargaon, he took a Tonga and drove to Shirdi. As he came near Shirdi, he saw two high flags floating over the masjid in Shirdi. Generally, we find different ways of behavior, different modes of living, and different outward paraphernalia with different saints. But these outward signs should never be our standards to judge the worth of the saint. But with Somadeva Swami, it was different. As soon as he saw the flying flags, he thought, should a saint take a liking for the flags? Does this denote sainthood? It implies that the saint's hankering after fame. Thinking thus, he wished to cancel his Shirdi trip and said to his fellow travelers that he would go back. They said to him, why did you come so long? If your mind gets restless by the sight of the flag, how much more agitated would you be on seeing in Shirdi the Ratha, the palanquin, the horse, and all other paraphernalia? The Swami got more confounded and said, a few such sadhus with horses, palanquin, and tom-toms I have seen, and it is better for me to return than see such sadhus. Saying this, he started to return. The fellow travelers pressed him not to do so, but to proceed. They asked him to stop his crooked way of thinking and told him that the sadhu, that is, Baba, did not care a bit for the flags and other paraphernalia, not for fame, nor for fame. It was the people, his devotees, that kept up all the paraphernalia out of love and devotion for him. Finally, he was persuaded to continue his journey, go to Shirdi, and see Baba. When he went and saw Baba from the courtyard, he melted inside. His eyes were full of tears. His throat was choked, and all his evil and crooked thoughts vanished. He remembered his guru's saying that is our abode place of rest where the mind is most pleased and charmed. He wished to roll himself in the dust of Baba's feet, and when he approached Baba, the latter got wild and cried aloud, all your humbug paraphernalia be with us. You go back to your home. Beware if you come back to this masjid. Why take the darshan of one who flies a flag over his masjid? Is this a sign of sainthood? Remain here not for a moment. The Swami was taken aback by surprise. He realized that Baba read his heart and spoke it out. How omniscient he was! He knew that he was least intelligent and that Baba was noble and pure. He saw Baba embracing somebody, touching someone with his hand, comforting others, staring kindly at some, laughing at others, giving Udi Prasad to some, and thus pleasing and satisfying all. Why should he alone be dealt with so harshly? Thinking seriously, he came to realize that Baba's conduct responded exactly to his inner thought and that he should take a lesson from this and improve, and that Baba's wrath was a blessing in disguise. It is needless to say that later on, his faith in Baba was confirmed and he became a staunch devotee of Baba. Nana Saheb Chandorkar. Hemant Pant continues this chapter with the story of Nana Saheb Chandorkar. When Nana Saheb was once sitting in the masjid with Mahal Malas Malsapati and others, a Mohammedan gentleman from Bijapur came with his family to see Baba. Seeing Ghosha, veiled ladies with him, Nana Saheb wanted to go away, but Baba prevented him from doing so. The ladies came and took the darshan of Baba. When one of the ladies removed her veil in saluting Baba's feet and then resumed it again, Nana Saheb, who saw her face, was so much smitten with her rare beauty that he wished to see her face again. Knowing Nana's restlessness of mind, Baba spoke to him after the lady had left the place as follows: Why are you getting agitated in vain? Let the senses do their allotted work or duty. We should not meddle with their work. God has created this beautiful world, and it is our duty to appreciate its beauty. The mind will get steady and calm slowly and gradually. When the front door was open, why go by the back one? When the heart is pure, there is no difficulty whatsoever. Why should one be afraid of anyone if there be no evil thought in us? The eyes may do their work. Why should you feel shy and tottering? Shama was there and he could not follow the meaning of what Baba said. So he asked Nana about this on their way home. Nana told him about his restlessness at the sight of the beautiful lady. Now, Baba knew it and advised him about it. Nana explained Baba's meaning as follows: Our mind is fickle by nature. It should not be allowed to get wild. The senses may get restless. The body, however, should be held in check and not allowed to be impatient. The senses run after objects, but we should not follow them and crave for their objects. By slow and gradual practice, restlessness can be conquered. We should not be swayed by the senses, but they cannot be completely controlled. We should curb them rightly and properly according to the need of the occasion. Beauty is a subject of sight. We should fearlessly look at the beauty of objects. There is no room for shyness or fear. Only we should never entertain evil thoughts. Making our mind desireless, observe God's work of beauty. In this way, the senses will be easily and naturally controlled, and even in enjoying objects, you will be reminded of God. If the outer senses are not held in check, and if the mind be allowed to run after objects and be attached to them, our cycle of births and deaths will not come to an end. The objects of sense are things harmful. With viveka or discrimination, as our charioteer, we will control the mind and will not allow the senses to go astray. With such a charioteer, we reach the Vishnupada, the final abode, our real home from which there is no return. The stories of Kaka Saheb Dikshit, Shri Thembiye Swami, Balaram Dhurandhar. Chapter 50 of the original Satcharitra has been incorporated, so I'm going to skip that and go directly. Victory be to Sai, who is the mainstay of the Bhaktas, who is our Sadguru, who expounds the meaning of Gita, and who gives us all powers. O Sai, look favorably on us and bless us all. The sandalwood trees grow on the Malaya mountain and ward off heat. The clouds pour rainwater and thereby cool and refresh all the people. The flowers blossom in the spring, enable us to worship God therewith. So the stories of Sai Baba come forth in order to give solace and comfort to the readers. Both those who tell and those who hear the stories of Baba are blessed and holy. as also the mouths of the former and the ears of the latter. It is well established fact that though we try hundreds of means or sadhanas, we do not attain the spiritual goal of life unless a Sadguru blesses us with his grace. Hear the following story in illustration of this statement. Kaka Saheb Dikshit, 1864 to 1926. Mr. Hari Sitaram, alias Kaka Saheb Dikshit, was born in 1864 AD in Vadnagara Nagar, a Brahmin family at Khandwa, CP. His primary education was done in Khandwa, Hingangat, and secondary education at Nagpur. He came to Bombay for higher education and studied first in the Wilson College and then in the Elphinstone College. After graduation in 1883, he passed his LLB and solicitor's examination and then served in the firm of government solicitors, Messrs. Little and Co., and then, after some time, started a solicitor's firm of his own. Before 1909 AD, Sai Baba's name was not familiar to Kaka Sahib. But after that, he soon becomes a great devotee, his great devotees. While he was staying in Lonavala, he happened to see his old friend, Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar. Both spent some time in talking about many things. Kaka Sahib described to him how he was boarding a train in London. He met with an accident in which his foot slipped and was injured. Hundreds of remedies gave him no relief. Nana Sahib then told him that if he wished to get rid of the pain and lameness of his leg, he should go to his Sadguru, Sai Baba. He also gave him all the particulars of Sai Baba and mentioned to him that Sai Baba's dictum, "I draw to me my man from far off or even across the seven seas, like a sparrow with a string fastened to its feet." He also made it clear to him that if he be not Baba's man, he would not be attracted to him and given a darshan. Kaka Sahib was pleased to hear all this and said to Nana Sahib that he would go to Baba, see him, and pray to him to cure not so much his lame leg, but bring around his lame, fickle mind and give him eternal bliss. Sometime after, Kaka Sahib went to Ahmednagar and stayed with Sardar Kaka Sahib Mirikar in connection with securing votes for a seat in Bombay Legislative Council. Mr. Bala Sahib Mirikar, son of Kaka Sahib Mirikar, was a Mamaladar of Kopargaon. Also came at the time to Ahmednagar in connection with a horse exhibition there. After the election business was over, Kaka Sahib Dikshit wanted to go to Shirdi, and both the Mirikars, father and son, were also thinking in their house about a fit and proper person as a guide with whom he should be sent there. There, Sai Baba was arranging things for his reception. Shyama got a telegram from his father-in-law at Ahmednagar stating that his wife was seriously ill and that he should come and see her with his wife. Shyama, with Baba's permission, went there and saw his mother-in-law and found her improving and better. Nana Sahib Phanse and Appa Sahib Gadre happened to see Shyama on their way to the exhibition. Dikshit there and take him to Shirdi along with him. Kaka Sahib Dikshit and the Mirikars were also informed of Shyama's arrival. In the evening, Shyama came to Mirikars, who introduced him to Kaka Sahib. They arranged that Shyama would leave for Kopargaon and Kaka Sahib by the 10 o'clock night train. After this was settled, a curious thing happened. Bala Sahib Mirikar threw aside a veil or covering on Baba's big portrait and showed the same to Kaka Sahib. He was surprised to see that he, whom he was going to meet in Shirdi, was already there in the form of his portrait to greet him at this juncture. He was much moved and made his prostrations before the portrait. The portrait belonged to Megha. The glass over it was broken, and it was sent to Mirikers for repairs. The necessary repairs had been already made, and it was decided to return the portrait with Kaka Sahib and Shama. Before 10 o'clock, they went to the station and booked their passage, but when the train arrived, they found that the second class was overcrowded, and then there was no room for them. Fortunately, the guard of the train turned out to be an acquaintance of Kaka Sahib, and he put them up in first class. Thus they travelled comfortably and alighted at Kopargaon. Their joy knew no bounds when they saw there Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who was also bound for Shirdi. Kaka Sahib and Nana Sahib embraced each other, and then after bathing in the sacred Godavari river, they started for Shirdi. After coming there and getting Baba's darshan, Kaka Sahib's mind was melted. His eyes were full of tears, and he was overflowing with joy. Baba said to him that he also was waiting for him and had sent Shama ahead to receive him. Kaka Sahib then passed many happy years in Baba's company. He built a vada in Shirdi, which he made as his more or less permanent home. The experience he got from Baba are so manifold that it is not possible to relate them all here. The readers are advised to read the special Kaka Sahib Dikshit number of Shirdi Sri Sai Leela magazine, volume number 12, number 6 to 9. We close this account with a mention of one fact only. Baba had comforted him by saying that in the end, he will take him in air coach or Viman, that is, secure him a happy death. This came out true. On the 5th of July, 1926 AD, he was traveling in the train with Hemad Pant and talking about Sai Baba. He seemed deeply engrossed in Sai Baba. All of a sudden, he threw back his neck on Hemad Pant's shoulder, breathed his last with no trace of pain or uneasiness. Shri Tembiye Swami. We come to the next story, which shows how saints love each other with fraternal affection. Once, Sri Vasudevanand Saraswati, known as Sri Tembiye Swami, encamped at Rajamahendri, Andhra country, on the banks of Godavari. He was devout, orthodox, jnani, and yogi bhakta of the god Dattatreya. One Mr. Pundalik Rao, pleader of Nanded, Nizam state, went to see him with some of his friends. While they were talking with him, the names of Shirdi and Sai Baba were casually mentioned. Hearing Baba's name, the Swami bowed with his hands and taking a coconut gave it to Pundalik Rao and said to him, "Offer this to my brother Sai with my pranam and request him not to forget me, but ever love me." He also added that the Swamis do not generally bow to others, but in this case, an exception had to be made. Mr. Pundalik Rao consented to take the fruit and his message to Baba. The Swami was right in calling Baba a brother, for as he maintained an Agnihotra or sacred fire day and night in his orthodox fashion. Baba too kept his Agnihotra, that is Dhuni, ever burning in the masjid. After 1 month, Pundalik Rao and others left for Shirdi with the coconut and reached Manmad, where they felt thirsty and went to a rivulet for drinking water. As water should not be drunk on an empty stomach, they took out some refreshments, that is chivda, flattened rice mixed with spice. The chivda tasted pungent, and in order to soften it, some suggested and broke the coconut and mixed its scrapings with it. Thus, they made chivda more tasty and palatable. Unfortunately, The fruit broken turned out to be the same, and that was entrusted to Pundalik Rao. As they neared Shirdi, Pundalik Rao remembered the trust, that is, the coconut, and was very sorry to learn it was broken and utilized. Fearing and trembling, he came to Shirdi and saw Baba. Baba had already received a wireless message regarding the coconut from Tembiye Swami and himself asked Pundalik Rao first to give the things sent by his brother. He held fast Baba's feet, confessed his guilt and negligence, repented, and asked for Baba's pardon. He offered to give another fruit as a substitute, but Baba refused to accept it, saying that the worth of that coconut was by far many times more than an ordinary one and that it could not be replaced by another one. Baba also added, "Now you need not worry yourself any more about the matter. It was on account of my wish that the coconut was entrusted to you and ultimately broken on the way. Why should you take responsibility for the actions on you? Do you not entertain the sense of doership in doing good as well as bad deeds? Be entirely prideless and egoless in all things, and thus your spiritual progress will be rapid." What a beautiful spiritual instruction Baba gave. Balaram Durandar. Mr. Balram Durandar belonged to the Pathare Prabhu community of Santa Cruz, Bombay. He was an advocate of Bombay High Court and sometime principal of the Government Law School, Bombay. The whole Durandar family was pious and religious. Mr. Balram served his community and wrote and published an account of it. He had turned his attention to spiritual and religious matters. He studied carefully Gita and its commentary, Jnaneshwari, and other philosophical and metaphysical works. He was a devotee of Vitaba of Pandharpur. He came in contact with Sai Baba in 1912 AD. 6 months previous, his brother Babulji and Vaman Rao came to Shirdi and took Baba's darshan. They returned home and mentioned their sweet experiences to Balram and other members. Then they all decided to see Sai Baba. Before they came to Shirdi, Baba declared openly that today many of my Darbar people are coming. The Durandar brothers were astonished to hear this remark of Baba from others, as they had not given any previous intimation of their trip. All the other people prostrated themselves before Baba and sat talking to him. Baba said to them, "These are my Darbar people to whom I referred before," and said to the Durandar brothers, "We are acquainted with each other for the last 60 generations." All the brothers were meek and modest, and they stood with joined hands, staring at Baba's feet. All the sattvic emotions, such as tears, horripilation, choking, etc., moved them, and they were all happy. Then they went to their lodging, took their meals, and after taking a little rest, again came to the masjid. Balram sat near Baba, massaging his legs. Baba, who was smoking a chillum, advanced it towards him and beckoned him to smoke it. Balram was not accustomed to smoking. Still, he accepted the pipe, smoked it with great difficulty, and returned it reverentially with a bow. This was the most auspicious moment for Balaram. He was suffering from asthma for 6 years, and this smoke completely cured him of the disease, which never troubled him again. Some 6 years later, on a particular day, he again got an attack of asthma. This was precisely the time when Baba took his Mahasamadhi. The day of this visit was a Thursday, and the Durandar brothers had a good fortune of witnessing the Chavadi. Balram saw the lustre of Pandurang on Baba's face, and next morning at the Kakad Arati time, the same phenomenon The same lustre of his beloved deity, Pandurang, was visible again on Baba's face. Mr. Balram Durandar wrote in Marathi, the life of the Maharashtra Saint Tukaram, but did not survive to see its publication. It was published later by the brothers in 1928. In a short note of Balram's life given in the beginning of the book, the above account of Balram's visit had been fully corroborated within. That is page 6 of the book. The epilogue. The greatness of Sadguru Sai. We prostrate ourselves before and take refuge in that Sai's Samarth, who visits all animate and inanimate things in the universe, from a post to God Brahma, pots, houses, mansions, and even sky, who pervades all creatures equally without any differentiation, to whom all devotees are alike, and who knows not honor and dishonor, like or dislike. If we remember him and surrender to him, he fulfills all our desires and makes us attain the goal of life. The ocean of mundane existence is very hard to cross. Waves of infatuation beat high, beat high there against the bank of bad thoughts and break down trees of fortitude. The breeze of egoism blows forcibly and makes the ocean rough and agitated. Crocodiles in the form of anger and hatred move, move there fearlessly. Eddies in the form of ideas, I and mine, and other doubts whirl incessantly, and innumerable fishes in the form of censure, hate, jealousy play there. Though this ocean is so fierce and terrible, Sadguru Sai is its Agasti, destroyer, and the devotees of Sai have not the least of fear of it. Our Sadguru is the boat which will safely take us across the ocean. Prayer. Now, now are all flat before Sai and holding his feet, make the following prayer for the public. Let not our mind wander and desire anything except thee. Let this work of Satcharitra be in every house and let it be studied daily. Ward off the calamities of those who study it regularly. Alashruti, the reward of study. Now, a few words about the reward you get from the study of this work. After bathing in the sacred Godavari and taking the darshan of the Samadhi in the Samadhi Mandir of Shirdi, you should read or hear the Satcharitra. If you do this, all your threefold afflictions will vanish. Casually thinking about the stories of Sai, you will get unconsciously interested in the spiritual life, and if you then go on through the work with love, all your sins will be destroyed. If you wish to get rid of the cycles of births and deaths, read Sai's stories and remember him always, and get yourself attached and devoted to his feet. If you dive into the sea of Sai's stories and then give him out to others, and then give them out to others, you will get an ever new flavor of them and save the hearers from perdition. If you go on meditating on Sai's form, it will, in course of time, disappear and lead you into self-realization. It is very hard to know and realize the nature of self or Brahma. If you approach through Shagun Brahma, that is Sai's form, your progress will be easy. If the devotees completely surrender himself unto him, he will use his individuality and be merged in him and be one with him, as the river in the sea. If you thus become merged with him in any of the three states, that is waking, dream, and deep sleep, you will get rid of the bond of samsara. If anybody after bathing reads this with love and faith and completes it within a week, his calamities will disappear. Or if he hears or reads it daily and regularly, all his dangers will be warded off. By its study, a man wishing for wealth will get it, and a pure trader success in life. He will get the reward according to his faith and devotion. Without this, there will be no experience of any kind. If you read this respectfully, Sai will be pleased and removing your ignorance and poverty. He will give you knowledge, wealth, and prosperity. With a concentrated mind, if you read a chapter daily, it will give you unbounded happiness. One who has his own welfare at heart should study it carefully, and then he will ever remember Sai gratefully and joyfully in birth and after birth. This work should be read at home, especially on Guru Purnima, that is Ashada full moon day, Gokulashtami, Ramanavami, and Dashara, it's Baba's anniversary day. If you read this one book carefully, all your desires will be satisfied. And if you always remember Sai's feet in your heart, you will easily cross Bhava or Samsara Sagar. By its study, the diseased and sick will get health, the poor wealth, the mean and afflicted the prosperity, and the mind will get rid of all ideas and get steadiness. Dear good and devoted readers and listeners, we also make our bow to you all and make a special request. Never forget him whose stories you have read day by day or month by month. The more fervently you read or listen to these stories, the more encouragement Sai gives us to serve you and be of use to you. Both the author and the readers must cooperate in this work and help each other be happy. Prashad Yachana. We close with prayer to the Almighty for the following prasad of favor. May the readers and devotees get complete and wholehearted devotion to Sai's feet. May his form be ever fixed in their eyes, and may they see Sai, the Lord, in all beings. Tathastu. Amen. Arati. O Sai Baba, we wave lights before you, the bestower of happiness to jivas. Give us, your servants and devotees, rest under the dust of your feet, burning and destroying desire. You remain absorbed in yourself and show the Lord or God to the aspirants. As one feels intently, you give him experiences or realization accordingly. O kind-hearted, your power is such. Meditation on your name removes our fear of the samsara. Your method of word is really unfathomable, as you always help the poor and the helpless. In this Kali age, you, the all-pervasive Datta, have really incarnated as Shagun Brahma. Ward off the fear of samsara of the devotees who come to you every Thursday, so as to enable them to see the feet of the Lord. O God of gods, I pray that let my treasure be at the service of your feet. Feed Mahadev and Ghadij also with happiness as a cloud feeds the chatak bird with pure water, and thus keep up your word. Amen. Tathastu.
Thank you, Brother Suna. With that, we come to an end of Shri Sai Satcharita Reading. Let us now end it with our closing prayers. Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Shanti 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 Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shri Sai Ram. Thank you all for joining us for every day for the duration of the Satcharitra reading. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Thank you for coordinating this. Om Shri Sai Ram.